Good evening, everybody. My name is Catalina Moranzi. I work in the Santa Barbara Public Library. I am the outreach coordinator. And today we have two very special presenters. But before we start, I want to tell everybody and thank you everybody for taking the time to come here, because we want reach you guys where you are. I know it's a busy day, everybody has work, everything. To take the time to do this is very important. So today is the SBPL parenting series, and we are going to talk about parenting while grieving. It's very important. Not many people know about the technology. The technology is like the science, a discipline that examinate the dead. It's a discipline that many people don't know, even in English or in Spanish. So we are going to talk about this, and our presenting Sharon is like a specialist in this. She's going to give us more details. So today, we welcome Sharon Vineall. She's a licensed clinical social worker, bereavement counselor in the Hospice of Santa Barbara. She has 10 years of experience working with Hospice in Santa Barbara. And Mercy Velasquez. She's a wonderful social worker and community supporting specialist with Family and Service Agency. And she's my amazing co-worker in the Santa Barbara Public Library. So welcome, Sharon.
Hello. Thank you. Thanks everybody for sharing this time with me. We'll be talking about parenting while grieving. So whether you are currently a parent in the midst of this experience, or maybe you want to know how to help a friend or a family member, we'll touch in on a few important things to keep in mind. The information I present will be divided into two major areas of focus. First, help for the parent, and second, how to best help and support the child. All right.
It's important, even if she's talking and your question comes, please write it. We are going to have a break and address every question. So do it right away, because sometimes we wait. Oh, I forgot. So feel free, and we go back to the questions in a break. Okay, thank you, Sharon.
All right, so on our next slide, we'll start with our presenting problem. So here is really our presenting problem that most parents seem to come up against when parenting while grieving. And this is, how can we be present and positive for our children when we are also in the midst of coping with our own grief? Okay, on our next slide, my question for everyone is, do you ever feel like this? I think we do sometimes. I will say the pain of grief alongside the endless demands of parenting can be overwhelming and exhausting. So taking care of yourself is really important for your emotional health, and it's key to being able to be present and positive for your kids. It's important to prioritize self-care to support your ability to parent. Okay, on our next slide, I have another question for you. Do you start the day wanting to be the best parent you can be? Do you appreciate it when others try to be the best that they can be? Most of us have good intentions to strive for this, and I want you all to remember, so importantly, self-care is not selfish. It's what helps us to be our best self, which is always better for your children and for others in your life. So I'd like to outline how to take care of yourself as a parent in grief. And our next slide, one important aspect of self-care is having someone that you trust to confide in. Maybe that's a close friend, perhaps a counselor, such as myself, or a support group, This also is very important because it helps a parent avoid the pitfall of confiding in their child. It's important to maintain those healthy parent, adult, and child boundaries. Okay. Our next slide, I think for many of us, it's easy to avoid asking for help, but give others the opportunity to contribute. If you don't ask for help, then actually you're refusing someone else the chance to be helpful. And very often someone will say, how can I help? Can I help you? I'd like to do anything I can to help. And we say, no, don't worry, I'm fine. But I'd like to suggest that you answer with yes and make it easy and be direct and specific. So say, yes, I could use some help with picking up the kids after school. Yes, I could use some help with babysitting so that I could get an hour to myself. Yes, I could use help with errands or groceries. All right. On our next slide, another important aspect of self-care is getting some rest. Now, I know this isn't always that easy. As a parent myself, I know how hard it is to fit in. And I'm not suggesting you go to the gym for an hour a day, you meditate for an hour a day, nothing like that. It can be as simple as just even a couple of minutes. So right now, I'd like everybody to just take a nice deep breath. I know that helped me. So even just a couple of nice deep breaths can help bring some calm, or maybe just a short walk, or just a good night's sleep. All right, on our next slide, I want to remind everyone to be gentle with themselves. Parents often put a lot of pressure on themselves to be perfect, but grief is so very hard. And your role as a parent is to guide your kids through it in a supportive way, not a perfect way. Parents have hard days too. We're not always at our best. So always just offer yourself a little bit of compassion, just like you would to your child. All right. On our next slide, I'd like to now move into the next area of focus, which is how to support a child's ability to cope. And in supporting a grieving child, remember, you cannot take away the pain, the experience of their grief, but most importantly, there are ways you can support their resiliency as they cope. And I'd like to talk about a few ways to support that resiliency. All right. On our next slide, one of the very important things is that we help our child feel safe. And we want to offer them a lot of reassurance that even though things may feel hard and confusing, we'll take care of them, we'll provide for their needs, and that they're safe. All right. Wow, Catalina, you're getting good. So more important aspects of supporting resiliency are consistency, routine, and family rules. And with consistency, this will refer to the ways in which we choose to engage with or respond to our child. The key is not changing that over time. So this way, a child learns what to expect and predict, and this helps them feel safe and secure. And remember, all of this is to help support their resiliency, helps them cope. Routines are also very important. I think sometimes in grief, we get away from our routines, but actually they're more important than ever. So an example would be regular bedtime. What does that process look like? First, we brush our teeth, then we read a book, then we get into bed, and we're keeping that the same. The structure is really important, and the same with family rules. These are important to keep because kids need that structure to feel safe. Maybe think about a family activity where you might even create these family rules all together. Maybe write them on a poster, put them up, have them in a shared space. And that can also lead to your family having some very cohesiveness, in all engaging in those family rules. All right, and then on our next slide, it's very important that we listen deeply to our children. Listening with warmth and empathy, it's a powerful way to build resilience. Listening helps a child become more aware of their feelings, and it validates their experience. And remember to ask, how can I help you? And that question can help them deal with the difficulties and the feelings they are facing. And set a good example. So parents, as you can imagine, are always asking me if they should show their feelings in front of their children. Keep in mind, you don't have to hide your feelings. This shows actually your children that feelings are acceptable, they're normal, and it gives them permission to feel theirs too. The most important thing here is that you are not putting your child in a position of comforting you, and that you aren't losing control while you experience your feelings. So on our next slide, another way of saying that, acknowledging your own fears and feelings, and then model for your children how to handle emotions. This will be a lifelong skill for them. And then always reassuring them that they don't have to take care of you, you'll take care of them. So again, now I think this last slide of something very important, open and honest communication, can also support resiliency for our children. And the first point, be honest about the circumstances of the death as appropriate to their age and their developmental level. Try not to use words like sick. Use the actual word for the illness, cancer, or don't use the word sleeping for death. Also, children have big imaginations. So what information you might be withholding, children will have to try to find ways to fill in the blanks if they don't understand. And what they might imagine could be worse than the actual circumstances. Also, they can imagine themselves to be at fault for some reason. So it's always important to say to our child, it's not your fault. Again, they can feel responsible when bad things happen. And parents always feel like they have to come up with the answer for everything. Remember, it's okay to say, I don't know, if you don't know. What's most important is the message you are sending your child, which is, I'm here, I'm available, you can always come to me with your questions. And that, of course, will, keep a trusting and important relationship for you and your child. And I guess at that point, it really concludes my portion of the presentation, and I will hand it back to Catalina. And Catalina, thank you for your help with that.
You're welcome. Okay, any question? This is the moment when any question and experience that you had, we had a professional person, so that is the moment. I had actually a question, Sharon. Sometimes in another presentation, sometimes people said, oh, your grandpa or your uncle went to the heaven.
Mm.
How appropriate is that?
Well, I think it depends on the age of the child, but for most children, especially younger children, they don't have the ability to think in that way that we do as adults. So I think what that leads them to is feeling very confused. They don't know where heaven is. And even if they think maybe it's in the sky, it's still very confusing because it makes it sound like the person is still alive. And we have to be very clear that the person is no longer alive. For younger children, we'll be reminding them of just the most simple facts that, the body is no longer functioning, it's not working, the person is not breathing, and also that they are not going to come back to life. So some of these things as adults, we understand, and we forget that especially younger children don't understand these kinds of things. And it's really not until maybe a teenager really would have more of a spiritual sense of being able to understand something like heaven.
Okay. I see somebody's want to ask a question. Can you please write it in the chat? So yes, anybody that has a question, please write it in the chat and we will answer it here. Any questions? So Sharon, do you think like when somebody like has children and is having a hard time, what is the moment when they should look for help? Because usually the parent or the caregiver is maybe suffering too, or feel that it's not doing a right job. When is the moment they should do it?
Well, I think that it's always important to ask for help. I'll go back to that idea when we're facing a problem. And, grief can really create a lot of problems for us. And so before you really feel like, oh my gosh, I can't cope, it's before that you want to reach out and talk to somebody. And I think being proactive in that way, even if it's to find out that you're doing everything absolutely right, wonderful. But I think it's more important to ask for that support long before you feel like you desperately need it.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon. For those that are asking about the webinar, it's an hour, but remember, so you have to go. It's okay. We are recording this and you are going to see it like we will post it like in the few weeks if you want to see it again. It was a question about that. We had another question, Mercy.
You want me to read it? It's from Shelly.
Yes, please.
I have a 2-year-old recently turned 2 whose father was killed in front of him last Saturday in an accident. How can we help him process this in this immediate stage and over time?
Gosh, I am so sorry. I'm just reaching out to be able to say I'm sorry for the loss. Again, with something so tragic, this would be, Catalina, again, a time to reach out for help and support. For a 2-year-old, here's what's very important. You want to go back to those basics where you are just helping the child feel safe and secure. Keep your routines as normal as you can. Be consistent. You just go back to those basic building blocks. That's what's most important for a young child. Sometimes parents confuse their own distress with the child, and they think that sometimes their own experience is what the child is experiencing, and that's not necessarily true. So whereas perhaps for this person, that was a very significant relationship and they're really struggling. But again, in terms of supporting the 2-year-old, just think about getting help for yourself. Think about just keeping things as consistent and as much routine as possible for a young child.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, you continue asking questions, even he will pass to Mercy, and Sharon will answer at the end. Sharon, do you want to introduce yourself, and I will put your presentation?
So I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, Mercy, sorry. Mercy.
I was like, she's gonna present
Yes.
herself. You're fine. So hi everybody, my name is Mercy Velasquez. Like Catalina said, I am the community support specialist. I work with Family Service Agency, and I also work at Santa Barbara Public Library under the Community Connections program. And I will be talking today sort of about the same thing Sharon was talking about, but also kind of bring my personal experience with my daughter when we lost a close family member due to COVID. So thank you, Catalina. So tips, it is important to talk as a family. When we lost a family member with my family, we sat down together and we talked about it as a family and how important that was. So it's healthy to cope together as a family as long as there's a balance, where parent figures are the ones giving support to the child, not the other way around. So we don't want the children to be the ones giving the parents support. And it's also important to explain the process of what's going to happen after. So like I said, during like COVID, it was really hard for us to kind of explain what was the process after, because obviously we weren't getting back the body. It was, we would just have like a little ceremony and that's about it. But it was really important to talk that with my daughter and kind of explain to her what was going to happen after. Doesn't want to go for it. So yeah, like I said, explain the service, what is going to happen at the cemetery. In some cases, they do offer like special rituals. So kind of explain to them what is going to happen. It's important that to also explain to them that it's okay to be sad and to have those thoughts of our loved ones, and that healing takes time, and not rushing either ourselves or the children, and just let it take, like I said, let it take its time. So was it like unexpected? So it's important to be aware of the types of grief the child is experiencing. So was the person already sick? Was it a traumatic event? Was it unexpected? Did something happen overnight? Was it during COVID? This helps know like how to know this and how to respond to the children's grief. I believe Sharon talked about this, about being honest. So speaking honestly with them and using direct language and taking into account the age of the child is really important. Like I said, the part where they said that they are in heaven could cause a bit of confusion, and instead say something like, oh, he or she is no longer physically with us and his or her body will be in a coffin. And sort of explain to them also, like if, like I said, if they're at the age where they don't understand what that means, wait till they're a little bit older. Luckily for us, my daughter was about 7 when this happened a couple years ago. And so we were able to explain to her how this family member was no longer physically with us, and that their body was in a coffin, and that eventually she was able to understand that. So being honest with them is really important. And also listen to what they have to say. Sometimes they're going to ask questions, and sort of know how to respond to those questions, and allow for emotional expression. Try not to correct their emotions, like, oh, you shouldn't be feeling this way. And like I said, it's normal to show and express emotions. So the importance of communication, take your time to sit down and answer any questions they might still have after the ceremony. Like I said, with my family member, my daughter still had some questions lingering. And so we had a safe space where she felt she was able to share like some of the questions she still had. And like I think Sharon mentioned, like it's okay not to have all the answers, as long as you let them express themselves and be like, you know what, I'm not really sure how to answer this, but together we will find an answer. And I'm pretty sure that she was pretty content with that response that I gave her. For example, some of the questions they might have, well, will I get to see them again? And respond something like, I'm sorry, you won't see them here, but you can remember them with a picture, or we can talk about them and ask them like, how does that make you feel? And if they want to have a picture of them and like talk about them, and sort of memorizing those memories is really important as well. So routines, it's important to stick to normal routines. This will make them feel in control and supportive. For example, if take them on walks, if they like to draw, my daughter's really into art, so she was able to express herself in drawing something out for her relative that passed away. She was able to write. Also, she's really into like writing as well. And then recently we got her into a sport where she's being able to kind of build those connections with like other kids her age, and try to build those communications as well with other kids. So self-care, so it's important to connect with your emotions and how to express them. You can talk to someone. It doesn't have to be perhaps say like a counselor or therapist right away if you're not comfortable, but maybe reaching out to a friend or a family member, any person that you can honestly trust and you can depend on, and implement that self-care. And some healthy coping skills are like relaxation practice, meditation, exercise, relaxing. Some days are going to be easier than others, and others will be harder. But like I said, the process of like healing, it takes time. So take your time, don't feel rushed. It's a process to grieve. I believe that was end of my presentation. And then we also have some resources from CADA as well. I think Catalina's going to share that in a bit with all of you.
Yes, we had another question right now.
Yes, I'm pulling it up right now. Should young children be involved in death rituals, rosaries, open casket funerals? So I think it depends on the children's age. If you think they're ready for it, I would recommend them going to that. Like I said, my daughter at the time was 7, and I had that communication with her, and I asked her how she felt about going, and I kind of explained to her what was going to happen there, who was going to be there, how long it was going to take, sort of like to kind of get her ready, and also me knowing that if she was ready by her facial expressions as well. Like if I saw her kind of scared, I'll be like, you know what, like maybe you shouldn't go to this, maybe you should just stay home, and then eventually we can go visit at the cemetery or something like that. But my daughter was pretty ready at the age of 7 to attend this ceremony that we had for our family member that passed away. And so she really enjoyed being there, and me having that trust in her that she was ready to be there. Sharon, I'm not sure if you want to collaborate more on this.
Yes, no, I appreciate everything you're saying, Mercy. I think that's absolutely right. And if you have a child that's refusing, that's obviously afraid or just doesn't want to, I think it's important to respect that. And also building on something you said, Mercy, around making sure that the child knows what to expect. How will that process go? What will that be like? And this also makes me think about responding to a question earlier that I didn't mention, and I would like to mention. There are a lot of children's books out there and available on grief and all kinds of things where, you know, you can help prepare a child for something like going to a graveside funeral or these kinds of things. You'd be surprised at what is out there and available. And especially for younger children, going back to the question earlier around the 2-year-old, there are a lot of books that you can read to your child and, you know, allowing them to get older and be able to have their own questions.
Is the adults are allowed like to cry with children's or in front of the children's? How to make the children's to process that is normal to cry, or the parents or the caregivers should like wait a moment and don't let the children see that?
I'll jump in since I
Yes.
see that Mercy's mic is still on mute. So if I understand the question, it's whether or not to be crying in front of a child or
Yes.
showing those emotions in front of a child.
Yes.
I really liked in Mercy's presentation where she talked about it is all right to share openly those expressions of feelings. So being tearful, being upset, being distressed. But what's important is to remember a couple of things, which is most importantly, you don't want the child to be in a position of having to comfort you as the adult. That's really important. And the other is to make sure that you are able to manage those feelings, that you're not out of control in those feelings, because again, you're role modeling for them. Emotions are healthy, they're normal, and to not be afraid of them. We're in control.
Again, you had a question, please write it in the chat. I see some hands up. So please. And another thing that is very interesting, I know some people when celebrate when the person die, but not just celebrate their life. And they sometimes do with the children, like, oh, they used to like apple pie. Let's cook apple pie in honor to that people. So I hear that is a good activity to do with children's, like to get used to their accent, but still remember them. Is that okay? Or that, and I know too, like when it's the anniversary, like 1 year, 2 years of death, some people get a balloon or write a letter and get in fire and let it go, or plant a tree or a plant, like a symbol, like it's sad, but it's like you're still here. So I think that is important too.
Yes. That in terms of just remembrance activities are important ways to remember and honor. And we can also create rituals so that on these anniversary dates or holidays or birthdays, we are remembering. And it's very common that we remember through ways that were important to that person, ways in which we remember them.
Yes.
I'll let Mercy jump.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the holiday that just passed. For us Latinos, we celebrate Dia de los Muertos. So obviously that's a day where you remember your lost loved ones. And obviously this year we got to celebrate that, and like Catalina mentioned, try to cook something that would love, that my daughter used to like a lot, from like cooking with her relative that passed away. So it was really nice to have that moment for her, and trying to, get those good memories and have that conversation again. Like, okay, so it's been 2 years now. How does that make you feel? Like, did this help you? Like, did you enjoy doing this? Just in case, like, if she didn't enjoy it for next year, like, it's something that we don't really do. But I mean, she was really thankful that we got to do that and sort of remember them in a good way.
Yes. And how you say, Mercy, it's very important, like exercise, relaxing. And I know, like everybody say the same, go exercise, go take time, go walk. It's hard to get that point because everybody's saying it. But you can imagine how helpful can be for a human just go walk on the beach. We are like here, the people that live around here, or here in the mountains, that can help you, like fresh air or just exercise, like put new oxygen in your brain that can help you a lot. So just, I know, like maybe you are, or somebody that just support that people. Let's go walk, a little walk. Or and if you are in that position, maybe grab in somebody. You don't want to just go into somebody. Maybe that helps. So yes, Sharon, you're going to say
Well, I
something.
want to add to that. I think another reason that is so important is it brings us into our being mindful. So even if our walk is only for 5 minutes right outside on the nearby sidewalk, it helps us to be mindful of the moment. We can look at the trees. We can, like you said, breathe the air, take a few deep breaths, and it can really help our ability to cope.
Thank you, Sharon. So you still can write your questions, and while you're doing that, I'm going to show you the resources they share with me. So we were here. So we had resources from Hospice of Santa Barbara, and you can get this online if you want it, or I have it in the Eastside Library. I am most of the time in the Eastside Library, and I know some of you like the hard copy. So I had this printed there. You just go there and you can ask like Catalina, or you just say, come from the resources from the class last night, and we will have it there for you waiting. That is very interesting. And obviously that in the bottom has like the website and the email. And I am sure if you want to send a message to Sharon or Mercy later or a specific question, you can do it. This is for Sharon too, like 8 ways to help a child grieve. So like, it's like a guide. It's very interesting. Child needs to know what they will be cared for. Sometimes happen to you that they are scared. I think Sharon like see somebody that died, maybe it's not your caregiver, maybe the children think mom or dad or what, are you going to die? Like they will have that question and they will be like scared. So this can be like a resources that you can use. We had another here. How children and adolescents grieve. So these resources are very interesting because it's not like going just straight to all the children. No, this is for age. Obviously, because their brain, their emotions are way different. When they are little ones, they are more close to us. Maybe we had a little more control in them. When they are older, they just like more mature and maybe harder for us to penetrate, to be able to bring the message to them. We had, this is from Cara, from Mercy presentation, like knowing parent and classes. They had plenty of classes for parents too. They are free. So they had all the information in this flyer. And remember, this is going to be in the presentation. I'm going to have it in the library too, available for you. This is another one from Cara. Classes. They had a lot of classes for parenting, but you need to keep in mind that when we say parenting, don't need to be the dad and the mom. Can be the aunt that is taking care children. Can be the caregiver that is can be a grandma that is with the children now. Parents is in general, but it's the caregiver. Okay, and these are additional. Remember, you still can have questions. I am just talking here, just giving you time to write your questions. But I want to let you know the additional information we had at the library. I know you are here, you had in the computer or cell phone, but if you sometimes want to join us and you don't have computer or cell phone, remember with the library card, you can get a laptop and internet hotspot to join us. Or even to look at all these resources they had. The copies we had for these that had little children, we had a maker challenge. They are making an snowman this month. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, no, it disappeared. Okay, it disappeared too. It's a snowman, so please come and join us. We had a stay and play for this not too little. Stay and play for those that don't know what is this. Is for caregivers. what? To get together. Sometimes caregiver, especially after the COVID, we are like in home. We were socially isolated. So that stay and play, we had coffee, we hang out with other parents, with other caregivers, children start getting together and getting ready for school. We have Baby and Me, Music and Movement, and YouTube videos. Not only this video is going to be in YouTube, but if you want a story time, you want a different video that we already have, you can find all that in our website. This is very important. Additional information, especially for adults. Many of us just focus in like the children's area, like stay and play, story time, but you need to get a job, or you know somebody that needs to get a job and don't know how to do the resume, don't know how to do the cover letter. In the library, they can help you. You had an appointment and they help you to do all that, and even practicing the questions for the interview. We have community connections. My coworker Mercy is in charge of this part. Community connection is you need like an appointment or apply for health, you don't have it. You need to apply for another service that you housing. My coworker Mercy is going to be there to help you, to make like the process easier, because sometimes these forms are so long that we don't understand. Or even this, you need help to grieve. Maybe there is a resource that can help you and it's free. So we try to connect you with those. Test coaching. For those that are learning to use computers or never or just want the basic things, they come to the library, and we had a coach that sit with you and start explaining. Even if you're a smartphone, you got this smartphone, maybe December you get a present, so you don't know how to use it, and you don't, oh no, I don't want to ask somebody, go to the library. Serve safe for these people that work with food. By law, you had to have a certification to handle food, so you can get that in the library. You usually had to pay, but if you do it through the library, you may do it free. So you have like a kind of scholarship. You had a child from first grade to fourth grade, we had OG readers that they will help you. It's a tutor. It's a special tutor from first grade to fourth grade. So go to the library and put your name on. And TAP is for teenagers. If you have a teenager that needs to do work to volunteer, this is a group in the library. They had the power or decorate the library, had the power to bring ideas to programs, and is how they accumulate hours, but at the same time giving back to the community. And they meet every week in the library. Library Lab is like a STEAM program for all ages, and for those that didn't finish high school before, they had the opportunity to do it online now through the library. This is just few services that I want to share with you that many people don't know, and many people think the library is just books. No, it's way more than that. And if you had any question, my name is Catalina, and you can I am also in the Eastside Library, but you can call me, you can send me an email, and I am actually the one, probably I continue with you next time, and I will send you an email with this video. Any question? I give it enough time for you to think about a question. No questions yet? Okay, somebody, Nadia. Okay, we had one question. Okay, how soon you will have a copy? So the longest is 1 week, because the marketing person has a lot of things. So I finish it, I give it tomorrow, and as soon as he gave it to me, I send an email. Or you just go in the website and go to the YouTube parenting videos, and you will find these and the other ones that already passed that they were very interesting too. So 1 week. And in January is coming more, we are going to have more, so please start looking up. And yeah.
Catalina, could I
Yes.
add also, speaking of resources, I do want to mention, I only brought a couple along that you shared, but if you go to our website, there are quite a bit of resources on our website. So keep that in mind as well.
Sharon, so do you have hours to work? Like people can go there, or they need an appointment? What they want to talk to you, how they do it?
Okay. Well, you would call our main line, which is the 805-563-8820 number, and then that will bring you into our receptionist, and she will direct your call. We have our intake coordinators, and they begin the process for you. So you wouldn't just walk in, you would just start with a phone call. And then we'll guide you through that process in terms of getting in for whatever the services are that you need.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon. So, Mercy, you have something to say, or?
Yeah, I was gonna say that also. I forgot that Family Service Agency also offers dad's parenting classes and couples classes. So I can print some of those flyers and email them to you too, so we can share those with them. I believe the next round of classes start in January, and they're completely free. They're over Zoom, and they offer like incentives if you take the class, like dinner gift cards or food gift cards, stuff like that.
Thank you. We had another question. The webinar will be on the hospital website or the Santa Barbara website. So this will be in the Santa Barbara website, but we always share with our panelists. So when this is ready, we send it to everybody like was here and to Sharon. So she will have it. She probably can put it or share it with you. But for sure, it's going to be in the Santa Barbara Public Library. SPPL is going to be there in the parenting classes. If you had any problem, you couldn't do it, like because things happen. Sometimes it's there, but you don't see it. Don't be shy. Call us. Call me or any person at the library. Call the main library and ask for that. They will find it for you. If you had an email, they will send it to you. If you are there, they will show you how to do it. So don't be shy and just reach out to us. We are here to help you. Okay, so don't be more. Thank you so much, Mercy. Thank you so much, Sharon. And thank you so much to all of you that take the time to be here with us tonight. And I hope to see you in January in the next class. And happy holidays, and use your resources. We have many resources. They are free. Please use them. Okay, and have a good night.